Hello, Dad. This is Jay Warren. This is the Dadhood Journey podcast, and today's topic is this: liar, liar, pants on fire. Let's do it.
Hi, my name's Niko, and you're listening to my dad, Jay Warren. This is the Dadhood Journey podcast. Thanks for listening.
Yep. All right, Dad. So today I went through a little conversation with Niko, and actually his friend from next door was next door, and the whole issue of lying and covering things up and being honest came up and was resolved really well, and I wanted to share that with you because I saw a couple of things that I did during that interaction that totally worked, and passing it along. Hopefully it can help you dealing with your kid. I don't know if it's an age thing, but I definitely am seeing this. But Niko is really trying out lying about things and seeing what he can get away with. He's an honest kid. He is trying out lying, and that's just what kids do. It's frustrating as all get out, no doubt, when he is doing it, but I've been calling him out on a bunch of things and saying, like, I know that's not the truth, and he won't admit to a lying. He will admit to not telling the truth, which is subtle, and it's the exact same thing, but lying has this big charge. So that's one thing about, like, all right, was that the truth, or did you not tell the truth? And I'll say, that wasn't the truth. But if I say, was that the truth, or was it a lie? He would say, like, I was just doing it. He'd try and get out of it because he wouldn't admit to saying truth, that he told the truth, because he knew he wasn't. But he also wouldn't admit to lying, so it would just escalate into something else and him getting all defensive. So that's number one. That may be a way of getting through to the deeper conversation. But there are a couple of other subtleties that happened in this situation. So what happened was, he and his friend were playing in the backyard, and I basically knew what was going on. There was an uncarved pumpkin. We had carved pumpkins earlier in the day with Papa and Gigi. There was an uncarved pumpkin, and they took one of the pumpkins into the backyard. They started coming back and forth into the kitchen and the like. He's trying to be subtle by taking a knife out of the silverware drawer, and it was one of the regular kind of butter knife things, not a serrated steak knife or anything. But I kind of let it go for a second, and then seeing where they was going to go, and I went into the backyard and be like, what are you guys doing? And they totally hid it behind their back. And I said, Niko, if you have a knife, you're not allowed to have a knife without me around. He's like, okay, fine. So he gave it to me. But then I noticed his friend, a couple minutes later, ran through the house. Is like, bye, see you in a second. And then she runs over to her house, and she runs back through the house. And I look in her hand. She's trying to hide it. She's got a butter knife from her parents' house. So I go into the backyard, and I say, all right, Niko, I know you guys have a knife back here, and I need to know what's going on. What's your plan? He's like, we don't have a plan. We're just doing this. And he got all mad and defensive, and he went into his room, and I followed him in there because that's where the knife was. And I had a sit-down conversation, and actually his friend from next door came in the room and sat down. We had this discussion, and it went really, really well. But it was really interesting, the arc of how it went. So at first I was saying, okay, so I know you guys are doing something fun in the backyard, and you don't want me to be in the backyard, and that's fine. But I also know you have a knife, and it's just not safe for you to have a knife by yourselves. Well, we're doing a project, and it's a surprise. And that's usually a way of trying to get out of something, like saying it's a surprise. It might very well have been, and I'm not going to say, you don't have a surprise, you're trying to hide something on me and lower the boom on it, because that just doesn't go anywhere. I said, okay, you might have a surprise, but it's still not safe for you guys to have a knife on by yourselves. And Niko said, well, I'm using the knife, and he also had a spoon, to dig in the back dirt there, and we're just trying to do dirt holes and grass. And that sounded a little suspect, but I said, well, why are you using the utensils that we use to eat with to dig in the dirt and do the grass. Like, well, let's get the gardening tools. Like, we have gardening stuff. And he's like, well, okay. And he got caught, and he backpedaled, and he started saying, well, oh wait, I got confused. And he was being really diplomatic. It was really cute. I got confused. I was telling a different story. And so finally he said, okay, fine. We're wanting to cut open the pumpkin. And I said, okay, well, that's fine if you want to cut up the pumpkin, but like that's really sharp and dangerous, and my job as your dad is to make sure you don't get hurt. And he says, yeah, but we're going to do other things too. And I'm like, okay, tell me more about that. And he said, well, we wanted to like make slime with the stuff on the inside. And I said, okay, well, I can cut the top of the pumpkin off for you, and you can make slime if you want to. And they wanted to make a worm bed and all kinds of things like that. And then they both kind of looked at each other, and I started smiling inside. And they said, well, we already cut the top of the pumpkin off. And I took a breath, and basically in my mind, Dad, I was saying, okay, they cut the pumpkin, not allowed to do that, not cool, but it's already been done, so I can't do anything about it. So I decided that this was an opportunity for me to tell them just what I said. Okay, and so I said, all right, guys, so you use the knife without a parent present to cut open the pumpkin. Is that true? And they said, yes, that's true. And I said, okay, you know that's not okay, right? Like, yes, we know that's not true. And I said, so look, like, parents, we always find out the truth eventually. We always find out the truth. It's just we want you to tell us the truth right from the beginning so that you get into less trouble, and then this is another subtlety, and you might not get in trouble at all. So I made it kind of funny of like, you possibly couldn't get in trouble at all, you know, and they kind of laughed there. And I said, so from now on, you cannot use a knife in the backyard without a parent present if you're doing a pumpkin or if you're doing a project or anything. Is that a deal? And they said, yes, that's a deal. And I said, all right, so I want to thank you both for telling me the truth. I don't like that it took this whole time for you to tell me the truth, but I do like that you told me the truth so we can move on and have more fun. And they're like, okay. And then Niko goes a step further. So he says, well, Dad, you know, I have to say that I lied about the dirt in the grass. And I'd kind of forgotten about the dirt in the grass because I was working on other things there. And I said, well, okay, what do you mean? He's like, well, before I said I was using the knife and the spoon to dig holes and to cut the grass and everything, that wasn't true. I lied about that. But now I told you the truth. So I was laughing. I said, yes, that's good. Like, I don't like that you lied, but I do really like that you told me the truth. Thank you. And so they went into the backyard, no more knife. They gave it back to me. They used a spoon, like pulled out the goop from inside the pumpkin and the seeds to make slime, which made another mess, but, you know, no big deal. Just par for the course on a Saturday afternoon. And we had this resolution around this lying thing. And there's going to be other lies, there's going to be bigger things, that whole thing. But because it's been escalating, I really wanted Niko to understand, okay, it's important to tell the truth. And I'm having a challenge of like why it's important to tell the truth other than it's the right thing to do. And maybe that's my line of talking with him is just that's one of the credos. Like it's important to tell the truth because that's the right thing to do, not because you're going to get better favors or whatever. Maybe he'll understand that later on. But honesty is the best policy. Tell me the truth. And parents are always going to find out the truth. It wasn't about me. I didn't want it to be about I'm always going to find the truth because I wanted it to be about like grown-ups, about Niko's mom and dad, about his friends' mom and dad, grown-ups in general. We're going to find the truth, so it's important to tell the truth all the time. And I had a sit-down conversation with them. It wasn't me standing up and like browbeating them. And I know you're trying to hide something for me. You better tell me, otherwise I'm taking everything away, and you have to go home. And Niko, you're in your room, and all that kind of stuff. That was just the way I decided to go with it, and I think it really worked. So it was a conversation where we were all kind of discussing how to do it best, and it worked really good. And it was a learning lesson for the neighbor kid too, about this is how I'm talking with Niko, and this is how we hold it in our house, so like house rules at this place. But another tool that totally worked was to not come down like hard on them, but to make light. And I made jokes. I was like, so say you were being secretive in the backyard. This was another part where I try to make them laugh. Say you were in the backyard playing and you had a secret, and I was thinking, you know what? Those two, they're up to something. I better find out about it. And they both kind of laughed that I was going to like find out a secret. And I said, what if you guys went back there and you had like the knife or the fork or the thing, and you decided to, I don't know, take apart my entire barbecue and throw it all over the backyard and make a huge, huge mess. And they were like, what? We wouldn't do that. Like, that's what we cook food on, or things like that. And I was like, but what if you decided to take that knife and then chop down the orange tree and do something like really bad like that? And they were all laughing. They were like, oh my God, that's so absurd. Because it was absurd, and it kind of got them light. I said, so I don't know what's going on, and I need to know what's going on so I know that you guys are safe. I know that our stuff is safe, and that you guys are having a lot of fun. And that helped break the ice around, all right, how are we going to finagle our way out of getting out of trouble with this? Because Niko's friend from next door is the exact same age, and they're going through that phase of like, we want to have our secret stuff, but we know parents are going to find it. And I've had enough history when I come down with the boom, there's tears and crying and slam doors and being pissed, and all on their part, not on my part, Dad. Although sometimes. But it's something that having that conversation in that way with being respectful to them, being down on their level, making it a conversation, not an interrogation, putting in points of making it lighter and making them kind of laugh, opened Niko up. I mean, the neighbor kid was just kind of along for the ride. But Niko opened up that he lied to me about the other thing, and there was no retribution. And I think that was a very good breakthrough. I will see what goes forward. There's going to be many, many tests along the road, but I want to establish a bond of trust, and that honesty is really important, and that means I need to be honest with him as well, and that we can come to a resolution without it having to be a fight and a power struggle, because that's just no fun. There's no fun at all. So I hope you find that helpful. I hope that's in the back of your mind in the next circumstance like that. If you have any other tips that's worked for you, please let me know. Put it in the Slack group. We've been talking with some of the dads who have older kids that are going through the same thing in the dads group about the same kind of stuff. And any tool that might be in the back of your mind that you can pull out in the heat of the moment and that's new is always helpful, because we got to have a lot at our disposal rather than just trying to use the one tool and ram it and try and make it work if it's not working. So until next episode, Dad, take good care of yourself, take good care of your family, and we'll connect on the next episode.